Here we go, students. Excel Chapter 2, Guided Project, and the Big Howdy. So the first thing that we do is we go to Unit 7, Chapter 2. Then we go to your checklist. And on your checklist, we select Guided Project, and the video magically is here by the power of technology. Download materials. Download. Download. Close this, leave this open for submission when we're finished, but I'm going to close it because I'm not actually going to submit it because we've been through that quite a few times already. And I should have gone ahead to downloads and gotten my stuff. Downloads, again, sort by date modified, 429, 429, those are my files. Well, that was really sweet because my work file popped over on the left screen and my instructions popped over onto the right. So, you are an account manager for Inland Jewelers, a regional company that makes custom class rings for graduating seniors. Your supervisor requested a workbook to report on new accounts created on payment plans. The report should provide details on total cost to the student as well as payment information. Each ring financed has a base price that can fluctuate based on ring personalization. So, first of all, it says download. In the second instruction, it says insert a function in cell B2 to display the current date. So B2, there are several, and I think that it wants today. So you could type date in here and see what it comes up with. Oh, it comes up with some odd things. How about we put, but let's scroll down here and see. So many different dates. So there's now and today. And generally, I think this one wants today. And this is a function which takes no argument. So just for the record, today, and then the arguments go here. And when we do the payment function, which we will do today, it's going to be the same. It's going to have the name of a function, and then it's going to have arguments in parentheses. So it takes no arguments. It's just going to display today's date. So with cell B2 selected, set the width of column B2 auto fit. Okay, if you can't find AutoFit, go here. And look what happens. Let's see. It should come up with AutoFit column width. There we go. We have now AutoFit the column width. You can also hover over the intersection between two, double click, and it will automatically make it accommodate the widest entry in the field. We want to insert a VLOOKUP function in cell C5 to display the ring cost for the first student. So I'm going to go to C5, and I'm going to show you first this little document that I created to help people with this because this is complicated. And that little document is, darn daggity, I did it again. And closed out eCampus when I closed that. I'm going to have to fix that. SimBlue and Blend Blue and eCampus and my course and content. And everybody needs to know about this in the table of content. Well, it's actually in tech support and resources. Down here is tips and tricks. And here we go. I'm going to full screen that. So you can also download the document in here. So the first one is all about deciphering things. This is about the if statement and how it works. And this is more about the if statement. And this is about VLOOKUP. And I hope that this helps you. I just want you to know that it is here and it is available for you to use to help you understand what's happening here, because I'm going to demonstrate it and I'm going to explain it. But the one thing about this that I like is that I've moved this over so that it is not in column A or B, so that you understand that this is the table here, which we are looking up the value in, and that this is column 1 and this is column 2, and your information that you're going to look up is always in column 1, and you could have 15 columns here. It has to be a continuous set, and whatever column the value is that you want, that you've looked up this value here, and we want to know the cost, it's going to pull that value out. So back to our lovely little spreadsheet, and we want a formula, so I click the FX and then I type VLOOKUP, and it opens up the dialog box for me. And I want to show you something. I'm going to hit OK. Okay, whatever. You just really need to be quiet. Escape. Well, I'll do it again. First, our lookup value is we're going to look up the value associated with Dodson for the ring type that he bought, and it's silver. And then our table array is going to be right here. And we're going to look up silver in this table, and this might seem like that's really silly, just plug 400 in and just look. Okay, but we have, what, 10 names? And think of how many senior rings they sell at A&M. If you were looking this up for 10,000 people or 20,000 or 40,000 that graduate every semester, it would not be a trivial matter, and there might be a lot of other options. Now, this has got to be an absolute cell reference, but I'm going to do it without making it an absolute cell reference so that you begin to understand the difference between an absolute and a relative cell reference. So the column index number, the first column is always column 1, the second column is always column 2, and then 3, 4, 5 if there was data in other columns. So our column index number is 2. Range lookup is really important. If you don't put anything in there, it's going to find the first one that matches, the closest match, and it won't be an exact match, but we want to put false because we want it to be an exact match. Now, this is really important. If you look here, this says silver is what we're going to look up, and this tells you what the table is, and it tells you that it's column index number and false, and then it tells you the value of it for this particular time. The other thing to notice is that whenever our cursor is here, it explains to us what that range lookup is. When it's here, it says it's the value to be found in a table, can be a value ring, all of those things. And then, so each one of these tells you. And this is just general about the whole function. So these are the arguments. And when we go OK, it pulls up the 400. And when you look up here, you see the name of the function and you see the arguments separated by commas. So now let's copy this down. Okay, we got a value. Is the value for gold really 550? It is. Titanium 700, true. Platinum 750, true. What happened here? So let's take a look. When I go here and I click up in here, it highlights everything that goes into this formula. So it's saying it's going to the table here. Okay, when I go to this one and I click, it's highlighting gold, which is correct for this part of it, but then my range went down 1. So this is a relative cell reference when there's no dollar signs in here. It means that when this reference to the table was copied down 1 cell, the reference itself went down 1 cell. And when we get to the bottom and we click in it, it's all the way down here. So that is the difference between an absolute and a relative cell reference. So now when we open this, so I could just go in here and I could highlight this right here and I could put F4, but you can always click the FX and it'll open it right back up in your box. And that makes it a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about whether you've got commas or whatever. And if I hit F4, it puts dollar signs in. Now let's look at this because the F4 toggles between different ones. So now the dollar sign is only in front of the row, and now the dollar sign is only in front of the column, and now there's none, and now I have it in front of both, which is what I want in this particular case. And I hit OK, and then I copy it down. Now, it always, no matter, this argument went down, which was our argument of what we were going to look up, but this one never moved because we put those dollar signs in there. So understanding the difference between that absolute and relative cell reference is really important. And the next one said copy the formula and apply accounting number format to the range C5 to C11. So C5 to C11, accounting number format is on the home tab, and it's the dollar sign. You can also drag down and get accounting. Now we want an if function in cell 5 that calculates the total due. If the student has chosen to personalize the ring, there's an additional charge of 5% located in cell B21 that must be applied. If not, the student pays only the base price. So you want to use appropriate relative and absolute cell references. So if function in cell E5. So I'm going to hit that. I'm going to type if. Although I didn't have to type if because it was already there and it was visible, and then I just double click it. So my logical test has to be able to evaluate to true or false. So I'm going to say if this cell equals yes. There's something wrong here. It did not like that at all. That means that there's an error and it does not like my formula. So let's put this in quotes. It likes it. It evaluates the true. Okay. If it's true, then he's going to pay more. He's going to pay the price of his ring plus the cost of personalization. Now, I have to put this in parentheses. So the cost of personalization is the cost times the personalization cost, which we've got to scroll. You know what? I'm going to do this. Well, dang. Personalization surcharge. Now, again, we do not want this to move when we copy it down. So I'm going to hit F4, and it's going to put the dollar signs in it, and then I'm going to close parentheses. And if it's false, that means I didn't choose personalization. It's just the cost. All right, 420, that's correct. He chose personalization. So let's go down. These should be no. They should be exactly the same. Yes should be higher. No, yes. Okay, so we got that. It worked. We want to apply accounting format because that is money. Now, it wants us to insert a function in G5 to calculate the student's monthly payment using appropriate relative and absolute cell references. So we have a number of years, so we're going to go for, oops, escape. There we go. We're going to hit function and we're going to do payment. So our rate, look right here, you can't maybe read this, but when you pull it up, rate says, is the interest rate per period for the loan. For example, use 6% divided by 4 for quarterly payments. Quarterly payments is 4 times a year. If it's annual payments, you divide by 12. So the rate is the percentage rate, and that has to be an absolute cell reference, so F4, divided by 12, because it's annual number of years. Okay, the number of periods is this times 12, because there's 12 per year, right? And it says right here is the total number of payments for the loan. So he's only going to have 12, but somebody with 2 years is going to have 24. The present value is actually the amount of money that they are technically borrowing because they're financing. Now, we have to put that in as a negative because it's money that we are borrowing, and if we don't, our result is going to be negative. And we don't worry about future value or type. Future value is an argument that you use if you were making a balloon payment. If they said you have, 24 payments of $24.95 and then one payment of $12,000 or one payment of $50 or whatever it was for that final payment. So I'm going to hit OK. If we've done everything right, it'll work. And apparently we have done everything right. Let's look at what this refers to, just to make sure. Scroll down here, and we had an absolute cell reference, so that means that it continued to refer to the 3, even when it had been copied down that far. All right. Now we copied the formula, it's a counting format. We want to calculate totals in C12, E12, and G12. So C12, all I have to do is hit AutoSum, and it shows me now, if that really wasn't what I wanted auto-summed, I wanted this summed or this summed, I just keep moving it around. And once I hit enter, it's set in stone, sort of. And when I click up here again, I can get that, and then if I highlighted it, I could change it. Now I gotta highlight it again. Let's just do Control V. I'll hit enter and do Control Z. There we go. And that's correct. Now I could do Control C on this. Control V. Control V. What do the pound signs mean? The pound signs mean that the number cannot be displayed. If I just double click here, it can be displayed. Now set a 3/10 left and right margin. So I'm going to go to page layout, and then I'm going to go to page setup, because again, this is where I like to work, and it wants a 3/10. So 0.3, tab 0.3, left and right, and ensure that it prints on only one page, and that's going to be on page here, fit to 1 page wide by 1 page tall. And then it wants a footer, so I'm going to go to custom footer, and on the left side, your name, my name, and in the center, the sheet name, and in the right section, the file name. There we go. Okay, and that's it. Okay, and submit. But I'm going to tell you, students have problems with these. As long as you pay attention to the absolute and relative cell references, you will probably be okay.